Pick any person on Earth, doesn't matter who, go back 20 generations, about 500 years, and they've got over a million direct ancestors on paper. Every one of them had exactly one job: survive long enough to have a kid, not thrive, not be happy. Just don't die first. Now, here's the part that should actually bother you. Somewhere in that chain, not once, but repeatedly, the entire line came within one bad decision, one wrong turn, one cough of ending. You didn't inherit your existence because you were destined for it. You inherited it because a very long line of extremely unlucky people got extremely lucky, over and over, for tens of thousands of years straight. So let's test that luck. 5 stretches of human history where the chain almost snapped. Worst to least bad. Starting with the one that's honestly kind of embarrassing once you hear it. Number 5, the last ice age, 20,000 years ago. Picture waking up every single day of your life inside a walk-in freezer. That's not a metaphor, that was Tuesday, for about 10,000 years straight. At the peak of the last ice age, a period scientists call the last glacial maximum, the average global temperature was about 6 degrees Celsius colder than today. That number comes from a 2020 study in Nature using ocean fossil data. It's about as solid as ancient climate numbers get. 6 degrees doesn't sound dramatic until you remember it buried half of North America and Europe under ice sheets over a mile thick. Your to-do list, if you were alive then: don't freeze tonight. Don't starve this week. Don't get too close to a cave lion the size of a small car. There was no version of just going to the store. Getting dinner meant walking up to something 6 times your weight with a sharpened stick and hoping today wasn't the day it won. And here's the detail that should really land. An infected paper cut could kill you. No antibiotics, no stitches, no hospital. Just crushed plants pressed into the wound and whatever your immune system could figure out on its own. They survived anyway. Fire, sewn clothing, and group hunting got just enough of them through, barely. Number 4, the agricultural trap, 10,000 years ago. Here's a twist most people never hear. When humans invented farming, life got worse for a while. Not metaphorically, measurably. Skeletons from early farming settlements consistently show something researchers didn't expect: shorter average height and worse teeth than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. This is a well-documented pattern in bioarchaeology, though the exact numbers shift depending on the region studied. Why would inventing food security make people less healthy? Because a diet built on dozens of wild foods collapsed down to 2 or 3 staple crops. Because permanent villages next to livestock and grain stores gave diseases, for the first time ever, a stable home base and a dense population to spread through. And because a single bad harvest, one drought, one blight, could now starve an entire settled village at once, in a way a mobile group could simply have walked away from. Farming built civilization. It also, for a few thousand years, quietly made the average person's daily life harder than their ancestors. Number 3, the Mongol Conquests, 13th century. If you saw a dust cloud on the horizon in 13th century Eurasia, you'd had maybe 3 minutes before your city stopped existing. Under Genghis Khan and his successors, the Mongol Empire became the largest contiguous land empire ever recorded, stretching from the Pacific coast of China to the edge of Eastern Europe. Their horse archers could fire accurately at a full gallop, letting them outmaneuver armies still built around castle walls and heavy infantry. Cities that resisted were frequently destroyed outright. You'll often see this described online as 10% of the world's population killed. I want to be straight with you about that number. It traces back to a single 1978 book that historians have since criticized for shaky sourcing, and more careful regional estimates don't cleanly add up to any one confirmed total. What's not in dispute is that the death toll was almost incomprehensibly large. Entire cities were wiped from the map, and it reshaped Eurasia for centuries. The exact figure, though, nobody actually knows it. Be skeptical of any video that tells you otherwise with total confidence. Number 2, the Black Death, 1347 to 1351. Nobody in 1347 knew what a bacterium was, so when a disease started killing entire villages, the only tools available were guesswork and desperation. Yersinia pestis, the bacterium behind the Black Death, arrived in Europe via fleas riding on rats, and it didn't slow down for 4 years. Doctors, working with zero understanding of contagion, tried bloodletting and burning herbs. Their now iconic beaked masks were stuffed with dried flowers, an attempt to filter bad air because the actual cause wouldn't be identified for another 500 plus years. Here's where I'll be precise, instead of just picking the scariest number. Historians don't agree on one figure, but the honest range runs from roughly 30% up to 60% of Europe's population dead. Some studies land near a third, others, using different methods, argue for well over half. Even the low end of that range is one of the worst mortality events in recorded history. Number 1, the Toba eruption, 74,000 years ago. And a twist in the story itself. This is the one that used to close out every video like this with, "Humanity nearly went extinct." I need to update that for you, because the science has actually moved since that claim became popular. The Toba supervolcano, in what's now Indonesia, produced one of the largest eruptions in the last 2 million years, throwing enormous amounts of ash and sulfur into the atmosphere. In the late 1990s, a popular theory proposed that the resulting volcanic winter crashed the global human population down to just a few thousand breeding individuals, a genetic bottleneck so severe it nearly ended the species. That theory spent 20 years as the accepted answer, but recent research has hit it hard. A 2025 genetic analysis is bluntly titled, "I'm not exaggerating, the so-called Toba bottleneck simply didn't happen." Multiple archaeological studies have found human populations in parts of Africa and India that show no sign of collapse right after the eruption. The population decline geneticists do see in the deep past now looks like it may have started tens of thousands of years earlier than Toba for entirely different reasons. So what actually happened? Something did narrow the human gene pool dramatically at some point in our deep past. That part shows up clearly in modern DNA. What caused it, and exactly when, is genuinely up in the air right now, more than it's ever been. This isn't settled history. It's an active argument happening in scientific journals as we speak. Add it up: the cold, the collapsing diets, the empires built on terror, the plague nobody understood, and a volcano that may or may not have almost ended everything. Somewhere in that mess, one line never broke. Not once, across tens of thousands of years, and probably 100 near misses we don't even have records of. That's not fate. That's not destiny. That's just what happened to survive, and then, eventually, become you. You didn't inherit your existence. You inherited an unbroken streak nobody was keeping track of, until now. Subscribe, like, and share for more videos.